Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today I'm here to talk about the movie sensation that's sweeping the nation of India, that is. It's the Archies? Yes. In case you haven't been on Netflix over the last couple months, it turns out that they've put out a new big feature film called The Archies, featuring all of your favorite Archie characters and some classic Archie character situations, with the twist being that the whole thing is set in India in 1964. So I wanted to give my thoughts on that. As you know, as longtime viewers of my channel know at least, I'm a big Archie fan. I've got, well over 1,000 Archie comics. I've got tons of old Archie comics. I love Archie. And so I was excited to watch this. My wife and I sat down to watch it. I had heard about it while I was in development, kind of forgot about it, and then came up on Netflix recommendations like, ooh, here we go. So my wife and I sat down and watched this, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. I've been reading a lot of reviews about it. If you've seen any reviews online, or if you haven't, I've got a lot of thoughts about the reviews as well. But basically, it's fine. Shortest video of all time. There it is. Done. No, actually, have quite a bit to say about it. If you look at the reviews online, you can immediately tell that it's being massively review bombed. You can, like, if you just Google it, it'll come up with like the Google score, and you can tell by the chart. It's got a lot of 5 stars. It's got 4, 3, 2, but then it's got the 1 star is like half of the votes. And so overall it's got a mixed rating, like right in the middle of like 2.6 or something when I was looking last. But that's because there's so many people that are just coming on to give it a 1 review bombing. And that seemed a little weird to me, because if you read the actual critical reviews from professional movie critics, they're neither a 5 nor a 1. They're almost all right in the middle, as it being sort of like, okay. So there's very few, professional reviews that are really giving it a high or a low score. So the fact that the ratings are split so much, and there's so many people giving the 1 rating, that it's being review bombed by some segment of the population. And now when I see that, my immediate thought was, well, people must be upset that they took the Archie characters and set it in India. So mea culpa, that's not actually what's happening as far as I can tell, for once. Maybe it's just because nobody cares about the Archie characters. But in fact, what's happening is that the young actors who play the main characters in the movie, Archie, Betty, and Veronica, are all newcomers to the Indian Bollywood movie scene, and they're all children of major stars. And so there's this huge backlash against those kids and the movie, because it's perceived as being nepotism. There's all this stuff calling them nepo babies, and there's a massive, like, on Reddit and all across the internet, if you look at these things, there's this huge backlash from Indian movie fans, because they feel like none of these people deserve to be in the movie, and they're only getting their roles because their parents are famous, and so they're just like crapping all over the film because of it. I thought it was fine. So I'm going to look at this in two different ways. Okay. I'm going to talk about it just as a movie, and then I'm going to talk about it in terms of as an Archie fan, right? But I don't know. I know there's this big backlash, the nepo baby thing, and there's this big backlash against people that have like greater opportunities. Like, it's easier for them to break into something like this because their parents are in the industry and are rich and famous and powerful in the movie industry. So it's easier for the children to get into movies. But I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just an old man here, but like, that's just the way the world is. But in particular, like, it's not their fault. right? You know, I've seen a lot of people these days being called out for being for a nepo baby because their you know, parents have some kind of influence, and it's like, well, what are you supposed to do if you're the kid? Not do anything? So I don't know. I mean, I get it, but I don't know. I guess I just don't really care. I prefer to just judge the things based on how, you know, are they good? Are they good in it? I've seen a lot of these people that are angry at the movie really trashing the performances by the leads. I don't know. I thought they were fine. When you're dealing with like 17-year-olds that are doing a movie, like their first feature film, and it's also a musical, like, you know, expectations are a little bit low for me. I don't necessarily expect teenagers to always be the best actors and singers and dancers. And so, I don't know. I thought they were fine. I didn't think they were great, but I didn't think they were that bad. I mean, I thought they were fine. So, whatever. As a film, I would say also the movie's fine. I mean, set design's great. Some of the musical numbers are fun. Some of them. It's got sort of a wholesome, like, you know, heartwarming message, and et cetera, et cetera. The main issues of the film don't really have anything to do, in my opinion, with the stars or whether they're good actors or anything like that. It's that the movie's way too long. It's 2.5 hours long, and a lot of that's because of the musical aspect. There's basically a very thin plot that's about 1 hour and 10 minutes long, and then there's an extra hour and 10 minutes of songs added to it to make it twice as long. So it's too long, it's very slow, and frankly, it's really boring. Again, some of the musical numbers are fun. There's one that's all done on roller skates, where the lyrics also incorporate comic book sound effects. That was the best musical number in the movie. My wife liked that one quite a bit. But overall, it was just like, it was really long and pretty boring. So that doesn't, for me, really have anything to do with the cast. It's just sort of like, you know, I mean, there are good things about it. The production was really high level, like the set designs, the costume designs, like the way it was filmed, and like everything. It was done very, very well. Like, you know, it's on Netflix, but it's like a big budget film. It's not like a made for TV special. It was really well done in terms of how the production was done. Right. But, you know, it was just kind of meh. It was sort of like, we watched the first hour and a half, and then we stopped, and then the next day we came back and we watched the next hour. So and the plot's very basic, it's very simple, and you know what's going to happen, and you know, whatever. So, like, it's not great. But here's the part I know you've been waiting for. I teased it earlier. As an Archie fan, it was excellent. Like, in terms of the Archiness of it, yes, it's set in India, but other than that, this is one of the, if not the most, like, faithful screen adaptation. Far more faithful than, for instance, Riverdale. Like, it's very faithful. The characters are all the characters. They pull a bunch of stuff, including the plot, is right out of Archie comics. The plot has to do with Mr. Lodge wants to develop part of Riverdale, the town, you know, park. He wants to turn it into a hotel. And so the kids have to rally the town to stop Mr. Lodge's development plan. That exact plot has been done, you know, 25 times at least in the pages of Archie, maybe 50. Like, it's a classic Archie plot for their stories, right? And there's just a lot of little touches. There pretty early on, there's even a mention of like Ugaj, the United Girls Against Jughead, which is a super deep cut for massive Jughead fans like me. It's something, you know, that was in the comics in the 60s for a few issues. And there's a lot of little details like that where you can tell they really read the comics. They were fans of the comics. They brought a lot of stuff from the comics. The, you know, subplot obviously is Archie can't decide between Betty and Veronica, and then the two of them are like, they're supposed to be best friends, but they're competing for the same boy. All of that, classic triangle, all that's involved. And, you know, it's all like, it's Archie. It's like 200% Archie. There's a couple little things that they tweak. For whatever reason, they decided to make Dilton gay as opposed to using Kevin Keller. So my guess is they just didn't want to use even more characters. So they sort of consolidated that. I was fine with that. But all the whole gang's there. They're all very much in character, including like even their parents and stuff. So it's like, it's really, it's very, very Archie. Now, part of that is that Archie is a doofus in the comics, and you always wonder, why are these two super hot teen girls fighting over this schmuck? And that is a problem with the movie. Is, I mean, it helps, I guess, that Archie is, I guess, like a good-looking guy. I don't know. But, like, you know, he's always better looking in the movies and TV shows than he is in the comics, where he just seems like, you know, particularly if you have Stan Goldberg drawing him, he's just like a pie-faced moron. But like, you really have to wonder what these girls see in him. He's just like, he's just an idiot. He's probably, a big problem that the comics often have is that Archie's the least interesting member of the cast. And that's the case here as well. I desperately wanted more Jughead. Betty and Veronica were just so-so. Usually in these kind of stories where there's like an environmental concern and they have to stop Mr. Lodge from developing the town, usually Betty takes the lead. Instead, they had Archie and Reggie take the lead, which I didn't really like. I wanted that to be more Betty's thing. But Reggie really stole the show. They made Reggie so cool in this version that you really wondered why either of the girls had any interest in Archie when Reggie was right there, because Reggie's like, he knows what he wants. He's much more confident, but also like he's doing this investigative journalism. He's trying to save the town. Like he's the one that takes the lead on saving the town. You know, when he, you know, realizes that Dilton like is in love with him, he's totally cool about it. He gives a little speech about how, you know, much Dilton's friendship means to him and all this stuff. And like Reggie's just like so cool in the movie that Archie looks like an absolute moron, even more so than usual compared to Reggie, right? So like that's a little bit of a problem with the movie, is that it just sort of points out what a nothing burger that Archie is. So I really wanted more with the supporting cast because they were so much more interesting. The songs is really hard for me to say because the movie, I should say, is it's in Hindi, and it's like the characters go back and forth between Hindi and English from like one word to the next. We watched it in the original, which is, that's how it goes with the subtitles. You can watch it where it's dubbed into English. There's definitely some subtext that we were missing so I don't know how the music would play if we were in India. You know, if we were part of the Indian culture, I don't know how that would play, but the songs were mostly kind of just meh. And I felt like they teased some like subtext about like talking about sort of Indian culture because they set it up so that Riverdale is specifically a town where Anglo-Indians live. People, it's like a whole community of people who have like descendants on one side from Britain and the other side from India. And they talked a little bit about independence in 1947 and partition, but barely. And I thought they were gonna get into some of that stuff, and they didn't. So that was a little confusing for me, because there's like, then at one point they did a whole song about how politics affects all aspects of your life, because Archie is just, again, everyone else is involved with the community except Archie, and he's just like, I don't know, I don't think about these things. And then the entire school has an intervention song where they try and teach Archie that he's an idiot. And when the song ends, it just cuts to the next scene. So they sing about how important the discussion they were about to have in class about politics is, but then they didn't actually have the discussion in the movie, right? So there's little things like that where I wanted them to go a little bit deeper and they didn't. But overall, I felt like if you're a fan of the Archie comics, you're going to appreciate all the Archie stuff in the movie, because it's a very, very faithful adaptation of the characters. There were points where I thought actually it was too faithful, where like I had read and seen this stuff so many times that it was just a little boring. And I'm not sure whether that has to do with the fact that I've seen it so many times or just the fact that the movie was boring. So I don't know, mixed bag. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a 6. I think my wife would give it a lower number, like a 4 or 5, but because I have the extra Archie interest, I'm going to give it a 6. But if you look at the ratings, the reviews online, you're gonna see all these ones and all these people trashing it. It's not that bad, but it's also not great. It's very middle of the road. So if you want to put something on for 2.5 hours in the background while you do something more interesting, like, I don't know, knit a sweater or something, or read a book, then it's perfect. And if you're a big fan of Archie, definitely want to check it out. Otherwise, I don't know, probably it's a good way to fall asleep. If you've seen the Archies, let me know what you think down below. Oh, one last thought. The movie's called The Archies. And yes, the band, which is, the Archies is the band, right? The band, The Archies, is in the movie, and they're in the opening scene, they're in the final scene, and they like play songs a few times, but they actually don't have any part of the plot. Like the fact that he's in a band and the band is called the Archies and they're like trying to do something, none of that comes into play. So the name The Archies is a little misleading for fans, because you might think it's about the band, and it's not. It's not about the band. It's just about the group of characters. It's about the Archie Comics gang. It's not about the band. So anyway, if you've seen the Archies, let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you next time.